Hello and welcome to Insights in Action with Orange 142, where we interview agency leaders and business owners to uncover the journeys, the strategies, and the insights that drive their success. At Orange 142, we're all about transforming brand stories into impactful digital experiences through innovative media and marketing solutions. And today I'm very lucky to be joined by Kean Bartelman of Lemonlight. How's it going, Kean?
Good shit. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm really glad you're on, and I would love to just start this off by learning a little bit more about your background, Keen, and a little bit more about Lemonlight.
Sure. I'll start with Lemonlight. Lemonlight is a full service video production company. I've started to call it a content studio because we kind of fulfill any and all content and creative needs for our clients. We work more or less on an a la carte basis where we can provide full 360 creative services. We have an in-house creative team that can come up with campaign ideas, script it out, execute it, do all that fun stuff. We also work with agencies and partners that bring us creative and we serve as their production partner. And the mission of the company, like holistically overall, is to make content creation easy, accessible, and scalable and simple for our clients. Our mission is to connect them to the greatest creators in the world. We kind of view our in-house team as such, but then we also have a global network of content creators that range in skills, in specialties. And so we're able to do production all over the world relatively quickly, relatively simply, and cost effectively. That's the ultimate goal.
That's
Um,
awesome.
my background, I graduated from Miami University with a journalism degree and a political science degree. I thought I wanted to become a lawyer, specifically like a sports or entertainment agency. I did
Mm.
very poorly on the law school entrance exam and really disliked preparing for it. And that was my sign to be like, maybe that's not for you. And so I went in a kind of 180, went to San Francisco and pursued music production. So I was producing dance music and DJing and all that stuff. And as a result of that, living in a very expensive city, fresh out of college, I had to learn how to promote myself. I had to learn how to make album art, make video content, use social media to grow an audience, to get people to engage with the projects I was working on. And fast forward a few years down the line, I moved to Los Angeles. I got hired by a social media agency and I ultimately became creative director there. And then in 2022, I joined Lemonlight as a creative producer. So I was actively pitching, executing projects. And about 6 months after being in that role, I moved into the role I'm in now, where I oversee the creative team, our creative strategy, all sorts of different sort of production and creative services that we offer our clients.
That's awesome. So, really interesting story, by the way, from DJing and just figuring out that it's so much more of a business than people make it out to be, right? You
Yeah.
know, you really have to promote yourself, like you're saying. But so, about Lemonlight, would you say it's more of a platform? Would you say it's more of a service, or is it a hybrid for both, for those who don't know?
Yeah, it's a bit of all of that. So we started in 2014 as a commercial production company and content studio. So we're making all types of videos from crowdfunding videos to like about us videos all over the country. We are also executing scripted content constantly. Amazon is one of our biggest partners. So we operate with them in what's called their VIP program, where we execute a handful of scripted kind of projects for their advertisers on a monthly basis. We've worked with Disney, we're currently working with Rolex. We span the whole thing. But we are a full service agency. If you're a company that needs like campaign development. What does this campaign look like? What is it saying? What's the messaging? We can offer all of that, right? We can be full service in that sense. We also, on the other side, work with agencies and partners and brands who bring us creative, and we serve as the production arm in execution of those projects. And then what we've been really focused on and working on over the last handful of years is developing our own internal production platform, so software, where we use that to do all of our pre-production. And the goal being to make pre-production easy, to make it quick, to house everything in one platform so that it's an easy experience for our clients, many of whom have never been through the production sort of life cycle before, to understand, okay, here's my script, here's my talent, here's my locations, end to end, start to finish, the script to the storyboards. And then we take those storyboards and we execute on set production. And then those storyboards are what we use to execute our post production. So yes, we are a platform, which is in constant state of updating and refining and basically making it work for our internal teams as like the power users, but also making it simpler for our clients to really get an understanding of the creative vision for their project and what it's going to actually turn out looking like on the back end. So it's all things. We very much, our mission is to make content creation easy for every brand on the planet, and that everything that we do is in service of that. So it just
Yeah.
depends on what easy looks like to you as our client.
Yeah, I like that approach because you can meet any client where they are, whether they need more of a platform type of service or they need more of a service type of service. Meet them. And you said this now that your mission is to simplify video production for brands and agencies. What are some of the biggest challenges that businesses face when creating video content? And how does your platform or your service make the process easier?
There are so many challenges across the board, and some of them are small and some of them are large. And we produce somewhere between 600 to 1,000 videos per quarter, I believe. We do a lot of production
Uh,
because we're doing it globally. And some challenges may be for our smaller clients, like just working through the process, right? Like I have a client right now that I'm working with who have never done commercial production before. This is their first foray into it. So they don't know what to expect. They don't know how it's supposed to look. They don't know how it's supposed to go. All they're looking for is for us to do good work and to represent their brand at the highest possible level, right? For them, it's an entirely new experience, and they're really trusting us with leading them to the promised land, so to speak. And then we have other clients that larger agencies with more experience in this world, they're doing this stuff every day. And those challenges are often different, right? Sometimes those challenges are just how do we address all of these pieces of feedback, all these ideas, all this stuff in the scope of work, in the amount of hours we have to do it and make this work. So the challenges are far and wide. I would say the biggest challenge that we face just on the creative side of things is how do we provide as much like value for production dollar as we possibly can to our clients, right? The old kind of thought process and methodology behind traditional production is let's do this big budget thing. Let's make this really awesome commercial and it's going to run for 6 months or a year or however long it basically works for. And that's where we are investing our time, effort, and energy to get our brand out there and to build brand awareness. Now you have such an oversaturation of content that people interact with on a daily basis that audiences and consumers have been driven into these like very small niches all over the internet with all these different distribution channels interacting with brands in a very different way than even 10 years ago. And so now the challenge is how do I make this broadcast spot, how do I make the creative also work for Instagram Reels? How do I also make it work for paid placements on Meta and X and all these different platforms? How do I reach these different audiences in different places, but still using the same creative from the same budget? That is the biggest challenge, is that no longer does one piece of content kind of fulfill a brand's needs for 6 months, for a year. I would say that the shelf life has gotten even shorter. It's maybe 2 weeks if you're lucky in certain instances. That's what we bump up against, and where we're like always in the mindset of how do we create things within this particular project that have long legs, or we can splice them up in a variety of formats to serve the platform and the audience on that platform, whether it's because what works on TikTok does not work on broadcast television, does not work on Amazon product pages, does not work on Instagram. Like even TikTok and Instagram are so different in what works. And that's the biggest challenge, is like, how do you make content that's going to resonate with both audiences in all of these places?
Yeah. And I think the common misconception is that, okay, I can just repurpose the exact same content that I'm making on TikTok and I can just put it on Instagram. And that's not, like you're saying, it's not always the case,
Yeah,
right?
you at least have to reformat it or reconsider the way the messaging is being delivered, right? You may be able to use some of the same footage, but like on TikTok, what you may want to do is use trending audio and use the kind of text to voice feature on TikTok that like everyone knows and recognizes. So that video feels platform native, versus on Instagram, you're going to treat it very differently, right? You may just leave it as is. You may cut it up slightly differently. You may add a different type of text or a different type of graphic, all of which is going to feel fundamentally different than, let's say, you need to use that content for an Amazon product display page, right? The TikTok content is not going to work there and may even hurt if you put that there. So yeah, everything is different. And so when we perform discovery with our clients, we really, that's where we start, is we say, what are the deliverables that you need and where are you going to put them, right? Everything we do in pre-production, which then leads to on-set production, is reverse engineering from post-production. That's one of the ways that we are scalable. That's one of the ways that we're able to be competitive in terms of cost, is because we're quite simply only shooting what we need to shoot.
Yeah.
There's another approach to production out there that's, let's just shoot everything and make it in the computer, right? And for us, that doesn't work because we can't really guarantee that we're going to make the exact video that our clients have been looking for, executes on their specific vision. So everything is very methodical in that way, so that we can say, you approve this script, we approve these storyboards, here's the edit that looks exactly like the original script, right? That's how we solve for a lot of that.
Wow, that's really interesting. And yeah, I think video production can get so expensive for a lot
Yes.
of, not only just paying for the ad spots, that's usually what we deal with, is
Right.
get those spots, but the actual like production of the and the creative is so expensive. So that's really cool that you guys offer this alternative that, hey, we can shoot what you need and we can get it done quicker and cheaper than the competition.
Yeah. And that's one of our operating creative philosophies, and one that I like really adhere to, and we've seen great success with it, is this idea of modular content, right? And what that basically means is you're creating little snippets, basically like content library with different scenes, different vignettes, different like small moments. Could be with the same talent or characters, could be completely devoid of talent or characters, right? But you're basically giving yourself the building blocks to edit iteratively. And it sounds great in theory talking about it, but really what it means is you have to be really thoughtful about the way that you do pre-production and the way that you script things. And you have to have a method to the madness and know that, okay, I'm giving myself this product shot, I'm giving myself this particular lifestyle vignette, and maybe having a handful of those things. And knowing that when you bring it into Premiere to edit it all together, that you can take those blocks and move them around and create A's, B's, C's, D's, whatever you need to test on, and create versions that work across platform and also work for the paid side of things, while still executing it all within a single project, within a single shoot day, within a single budget, right? And so that's like how we just think about building these projects, so that they are efficient on set, but also cost efficient, where we can deliver a high number of deliverables all within what would be a nominal production budget based on like traditional approaches.
Wow. Yeah, that's really interesting. Kean, I hear so much passion about what you do, and I love that. Not just about video production, but also about what Lemonlight does. Where can people learn more about you, and where can people learn more about Lemonlight?
Yeah, first place would be lemonlight.com. There's all sorts of CTA buttons there that you can click and get in contact with our sales team, who will get you in contact with me. If you want to connect with me personally, I would say probably LinkedIn is the best place to do. And yeah, I just like to make things, quite honestly. That's what really gets me excited. Just like waking up in the morning. So even on the weekends when I'm not at work, I'm still making stuff. I'm still shooting things. I'm still editing things. I'm writing music. I'm doing whatever I can to be active in that way. I really don't do well with like idle hands. I dislike sitting on the couch and like being unproductive. It's potentially like a fatal flaw or toxic trait. I guess my wife would be the one to tell you which one of those it is. But yeah, just it's fun to have an idea and then to make it come to life and then to see it on the back end. That's what really is exciting. And for me, that's what makes Lemonlight a great fit for me, is that no two projects are the same. You may have, I am wrapping up a project for AAA, and I've worked with them a number of times. They were one of the first clients that I worked with when I joined Lemonlight. And even though I've executed like a number of projects, probably 10 at this point with that brand, none of them have ever been the same. None of them have ever looked or felt the same, messaged the same thing, come from the same point of view, looked on screen similar. And that's what's really exciting about this place, is that you can have that variety and it's constant. And so it's a constant challenged to find new ways to make things that are interesting, but also at the end of the day, we're making commercials, right? So you got to move product as well, or you got to move a service, right? The intersection of art and commerce has always really excited me and like interested me. Like I can remember even as like a 6-year old, I was like drawing Nike basketball shoes and like hockey skates and stuff like that. So the brand world has always been something that I have found interest in. And so now I get to do it every day, and I could work with brands like US Bank and AAA and really large legacy brands. And then on the flip side, I can work with those other brands I was mentioning who are starting out, small mom and pops, startups, whatever they may be. And they all present their own unique challenges. And it's my job as a creative person to figure out the best way to present those brands to their audiences and to solve those challenges for them. So it's like you're never just sitting around bored. There's always something to do. There's always a problem to solve. And even if you feel like your projects are going like incredibly and like they're the best stuff you've ever made, by virtue of the technology that exists now and the barrier to entry in production and creative work being so much lower than it used to be, there's always a trend to figure out, right? There's always methods of execution that are evolving and changing as new equipment becomes available, as new technology advances, right? So there's never a dull moment, and that keeps it really exciting. And so I think that's what you're hearing, like in the passion of it is like, how do I make the next thing I do better than the last thing that I did? But also, how do I make it successful for the client I'm working with? Because if it's successful for them, I get to have them come back and I get to continue pushing in an innovative direction for them because they trust me to do. And so that is really what we try to do here is we try to
That's
make
awesome.
the best work that we can. We try and have, what sales folks would call sticky clients.
Right.
And the only way you have sticky clients is if you provide them value and you are constantly showing them that you care about their success as well. So yeah, that's
That's
the
awesome.
way I
Yeah.
look at stuff and what keeps me
Well,
motivated to
that's,
try stuff.
yeah. Cool. Thank you again so much for being on, Keen. I feel like I learned so much too.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'll always here to chat if anyone wants to chat. Feel free to hit us up over at Lemonlight. We'll get in touch. And yeah, if you need any sort of content, like I said, we really do span the gamut from stop motion Facebook ads all the way to high-end broadcast commercial productions. Yeah, we just want to make good work and do as much of it as we can and provide value for everyone that works with us.